Hey guys, so today we're going to be looking at people who had a crazy gut feeling. So yeah, let's just get right into the video. One of my really good friends really pushed for me to go with him to a party. I couldn't bring myself to have fun instead of getting sleep before a 12-hour shift. Turns out he was planning to murder or suicide us. He wrecked his car into a tree right after leaving the party as his way out of this world. He survived and his dad found notebooks and poems about how he planned all this out. And this was his way of us living in the afterlife as bros. We stopped talking after. What? He wanted to bring everyone else with him even though he was the only one who wanted to die? Hello? And it was the fact that it was his good friend too. Nah, that's crazy. I just lost all respect for him. Like, I don't even feel bad he's feeling that way. Because there's no way, even if you're just feeling the worst, right? Even if you're depressed, there's no way you would want to hurt someone else. That's just not it. Just because you wanted to go to the afterlife, not everyone does. Literally took bros for life too seriously. Not me, but my husband. He used to work for a delivery company. He had an unshakable feeling one morning to a point that he couldn't bring himself to go into work. He just kept saying something was off, and he was going to trust his gut. The guy who covered his shift delivered to a house where he got attacked by 2 dogs, and dispatch didn't pick up on the fact that his vehicle hadn't moved until 6 hours later. No one knew he was there, and by the time anyone came out to check on the guy, he was too far gone to be able to save. I still think about that. I feel so incredibly bad for the guy and his family. At the same time, I'm beyond grateful my husband didn't go to work that day. It's a double-edged sword thinking about it from a moral standpoint. My husband quit that company the next day after they sent out a reminder email to the drivers about what happened. And it very heartlessly was, woof woof, remember to be mindful about our ferry customers. They don't always know that we're bringing them good things. I wish I was joking. That is messed up. That's it. Can you imagine losing someone like that? And then the company's just like, well, dogs will be dogs. Okay. I was at a party and this guy pushed me up against a wall. He swore it was a joke, but I said, nah, I'm out. I'd already had bad vibes off him all night and called my boyfriend. All my friends were at the party and didn't want to leave, and asked him to pick me up because I was drunk. A week later, that guy was arrested for rape. Well, good that he's arrested. Jeez. Yeah. Anyone who literally hurts you and they're like, oh, it's just a joke. No, it isn't. You can't make someone feel terrible and then be like, it was just a joke. Get out of here. I was living in my parents' apartment and they were both asleep. Both take medication to sleep, so they were out. I was about to go to sleep as well, so I turned my light off, but something told me to open my door. So I did, and I looked out the hallway and saw flickering lights on the wall. I thought, that's weird, and almost ignored it, but instead I decided to check it out. Turns out my mum put a candle in a plastic cup on top of an antique dresser. Of course, it started a fire. The flames were about 2 feet high and the living room was filled with smoke already. Luckily, I was able to put it out and wake my parents to air out the apartment. I think to myself sometimes that if I just decided to go to sleep, me and my parents both would have probably died to a house fire. Always trust your gut. Always trust your freaking gut. Jeez. Good thing they decided to check it out. I mean, yeah, if like anything is strange and you're like, wait, this doesn't normally happen, you should probably check it out. They probably would have died if they didn't check it out. But why would the mum put a freaking candle in a plastic cup? What? Plastic is not heat resistant. One night, I was waiting for the train when 4 guys walked up and I immediately got a bad vibe from them. I've been robbed once before on the train and the demeanor reminded me of the guys who robbed me. Like they were sizing me up and they were excited about it. I stood there for a couple more minutes reading my book and trying to look casual, then walked probably 3 or 4 car lengths down the platform. They stayed where they were but kept looking at me. When the train pulled up, I went to get in the front door of the car, glanced behind me and saw them running down the platform towards me. I got in the car and made my way to the back doors at the opposite end. A few seconds later, the 4 guys burst through the front doors and started looking around. I slipped out the back doors right as they were closing, before the guys spotted me, so I ended up safe on the platform while they were stuck in the train as it pulled away. When they looked out the window and saw me, they looked furious. I booked it out of the station and took the bus instead. The next day, there was a news story that someone was robbed at knife point at the next stop right around that time by 4 men who fit the description of the men I encountered. I'm so glad I listened to my gut and got out of that situation. In hindsight, it all happened so fast and it's crazy that I reacted in exactly the right way to get myself to safety. Good! Yes, always trust your gut feelings. If you feel like someone's not safe to be around, trust your gut feeling. They were definitely hunting for this person. But it's so crazy how they would even like run into the train to follow this person. Normally when you rob someone, you wouldn't do it in like a public place where everyone is there, right? What the heck? Like, this just makes me think it wasn't only about robbing. My mom had something like this. It was back in 2003 when I was 12, my sister 10. Mom and dad were planning on a date night and they were going to have us kids go stay with her grandma and great grandma for the night. Mom said she changed her mind last minute and instead they rescheduled and we all stayed home. My grandma's house burned down that night, killing my great grandma and severely injuring grandma and one of my uncles. Had my sister and I been there, we would have likely been in the same room with great grandma or grandma, and one of both of us would have died. Oh no, that's so sad though. But luckily, because of the mom's gut instincts, there were less casualties. I went to the zoo with some friends and my girlfriend. There was this huge bird cage, I forgot the word, where you could walk in and see all the little colourful birds. As we were walking, we noticed a dispenser where you could buy some seeds and sugary water to feed the birds. So we did, all fun and games, until my gut told me we had to leave. I took my girlfriend's hand and we made our exit. And 2 minutes later, so did my friends, who were now covered in bird poo. Well, gut instincts to avoid the bird poo. But they missed out on the luck, because if you get shit on by a bird, it's good luck. Years ago, I was hanging out with a couple of friends in the street. We had the idea to go to certain clubs during the night. When we finally decided to start walking towards it, I got a strange gut feeling about it that I couldn't really understand or shake off. I told my friends that I wasn't feeling like clubbing that night and that they could go without me. My friends tried to convince me to go for a bit, but I refused. They gave up and said that we could rather hang out at a friend's house. Later that same night, while we were hanging out, the news reported that there was a shootout at the club, apparently gang-related, and there were bystanders critically wounded by stray bullets. I remember my friends looking at me with this pale look while I was also very moved by this. I had never experienced something of this sort, neither something like this has repeated. I'm thankful that I listened to the feeling and that my friends decided to go with me somewhere else. Who knows what could have happened? They definitely saved all their friends. Every single time they get into an argument, who saved your life? You want to be here without me? Huh. And this also gains them so much respect because now whenever they feel anything, they're like, I don't feel like going here. I have a bad feeling. Or the friends would be like, oh, listen to this person. Yep. Not me, but my dog. I was having a little after the bar party at my apartment that was right next door. Somehow in a drunken shuffle, my friends disappeared and I was left with this dude I didn't know. He was being nice and we were chatting while waiting for the others to come back. I offered him a drink and got one myself as well. I thought he seemed odd, so I was texting my friends to hurry up. But then my sweet, timid but large dog started barking and growling at this man like I'd never heard before or since. I told the guy to get the F out, and when he got irritated, I said if the dog says you're out, you get out. He tried to argue and I had to shout him out. 10 minutes later, I hit the floor and crawled to the bathroom to puke. I slept for ages. I never puke when I drink, and I never get that drunk. I thought I'd had my drink inside the whole night, but I can only assume he slipped me something. My dog was 4 at the time and is now 11. I'm so glad I listened, because his instincts definitely saved me from something awful. What a good papa. But where were the friends? Where did the friends all go? What the heck? Good thing her dog had her back. Because the friends were useless. Where were her friends when she needed them? What? I was at an after party purely because my friend wanted to bang one of the dudes. I waited in the living room, first full of people but dwindling down to eventually just 2 guys and me. Friend has yet to emerge from random hookup's bedroom. It was fine for a bit and then I caught a glance between the two and it was like everything turned slow motion for a second. I literally dragged my friend out of a guy's bed and we got the F out. One of those dudes eventually served time for the sexual assault and murder of his girlfriend. Oh my goodness. Now this is a good friend. See, this is the kind of friend you need. She had your back whenever. At first, I thought I was being weird, overly sensitive. I stopped by this local small grocery store because I needed some milk and mayonnaise, but didn't want to go to my regular store that was much busier and further from my house. This guy kept appearing at the end of the aisle I was in. To say he looked at me in a creepy way would be a bigger understatement than saying the surface of the sun is kind of warm. After 3 times of these looks, I checked out and left. I saw him in the parking lot. He just stood there watching me get in my car. Unfortunately, I didn't learn my lesson so quickly. I went to that store 2 more times when I needed just an item or 2. That man was there each time. I was so creeped out by this guy, I stopped going to that store. I thought I was being crazy, but I tell you, the look in that guy's eyes was so scary. Like he was devouring me with his eyes or something. Didn't think about that guy until almost a year later when I saw him on the TV. He had just been arrested. Turns out he was a serial killer. That's so creepy! Like, always seeing the same guy in the store and he's just like creepily looking at you and checking you out every single time. And he's even in the freaking parking lot. Yeah. No. Trust your gut instincts. Because honestly, if you see someone that many times and they're just looking sus all the time, they're plotting something. Not me, but my then roommate was a school janitor. He usually left for work before I got up, and I was surprised to see him out in the living room playing Xbox when I knew he had to work that day. Apparently, he just had a terrible feeling that something was going to happen that day and called in sick. I thought he was being an idiot, but when the news hit later that day that there had been a school shooting with multiple casualties, I was stunned. I don't think science has any kind of explanation for that. It's one thing if he was regularly slacking off and something happened on an off day, but I'd never seen him just up and miss work for any reason. Never mind just having a bad feeling. He had like a spot on gut feeling. It wasn't even like, I don't know why I feel this way. He was literally like, something bad's gonna happen, so I called in sick. Like he knew something bad was gonna happen. Well, I'm glad he's okay and nothing happened to him. But man, that's just so sad. School shootings, that's so sad. Well, that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me in the comments down below what your thoughts are. And as always, thanks for watching. Hope you guys liked it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.